Welcome to Behind the Black Curtain, an inspiring podcast that follows the story of Nikki Rowland's incredible journey. Join Nikki as she inspires other single women and single moms to be courageous and continue to persevere through their own life journey. Together, we will learn from Nikki's success and struggles as we create a tribe of women committed to finding freedom from their past, purpose in their present, and unlocking the potential for the future. Welcome to Behind the Black Curtain.
Hey babes, welcome back to Behind the Black Curtain. It's your girl Nikki Rowland, and in today's episode, let's dive in. Let's talk about the rewards and the risk of not settling for less. And I said the risk because, baby, there's a lot that goes along with it. So here's the thing. We've always heard that we shouldn't settle for less. We should always want more, desire more, expect more. We are worthy of more. We are deserving of more. Don't settle for the status quo. Stop living that mediocre life. Get out your comfort zone. And it goes on and on and on, which I 100% agree with. I'm a girl that has been my mindset my entire life. Like, no, I want more. Yeah, I see how this is how my family is used to doing things, but I want more. I want to live in this type of neighborhood, and I want to have this kind of lifestyle, and I want this type of relationship and marriage and so on and so forth. So I've always had that in my mind. Honestly, the older I get, the more the fire is burning within me. And one thing that I've realized is that nobody ever talks about the consequences of not settling. We only hear about the benefits, right? We all know what the benefits are of not settling because it changes the trajectory of your life. It empowers you. It opens new doors for you. You learn new things. You grow. Just there's so much. But nobody ever really talks about the consequences, the pain that you go through when you decide, I don't want to settle for this ish anymore. I want more. And yeah, it's hard. It's challenging for me to come by what it is that I'm saying I want, but I refuse to give up. Oh, so you refuse to give up? Okay, so girl, you about to go through this, and that, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about in this episode today, because I know for a fact, Nikki, if you experience this, girl, there is hundreds of thousands of people out there that are experiencing the same thing. And I feel like it's a conversation that we need to have. And it's a topic that we need to shine the light on and normalize and just allow people to know that, yeah, just because you've chosen to receive more and do more and not settle, and now you're going through some sort of a battlefield, it does not mean that you chose wrong. And it does not mean that you should settle for less. And so that's what we're talking about today. But before we dive into this whole topic, I want to share this scripture with you guys. And this is just part of a scripture that I shared with my women's email group. I have an email list, and I send out an email to a group of women almost every Sunday. I do be falling off sometimes, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. But just about every Sunday, they will get an email that it's called Sunday Reset. So it's the day where we're going to reset and get ready for the week ahead, right? So I give them certain things to think about, certain perspective shifts. I will share scripture with them. I've given journal prompts, so many journal prompts, because I want women to go deeper with knowing who they are, knowing what they deserve, knowing why they deserve these things, and moving on that. So there's just so much that happens with these emails. But this past email, I shared a prayer over these women. I prayed over them, and I shared this scripture. And I want to share just the very beginning of it with you guys, because this scripture to me hits home, especially when it comes to the topic of this podcast. So the verse is from Isaiah 42:16, and I'm just going to share the very first part of it. And it says, I, being God, I will lead the blind by the ways they have not known. Along unfamiliar paths, I will guide them. Y'all, when I read that, I said, oh yeah, he's talking to me. Because honestly, when you decide to not settle for less, when you decide to go for more because you know that there's more, it's like you're a blind man walking. No lie. You have no idea what you're doing unless you have a role model, some kind of mentor that is in your life and you have access to this person on a regular and they can help lead you and show you different things and show you how to get through different doors or whatever it is that they need to do. But you're pretty much you're a blind man walking, and you're going into new unknown territory, and it can be scary and it gets very challenging. But according to the scripture, the Lord is saying that he will lead you. He will lead you. So if God is leading you, you're good. All right, so let's get into this. I want to first start talking about the whole concept of settling and why it's not even an option. Okay. The power of knowing that settling is not an option. There is definitely power in knowing that there's always more. And this knowing, the power in this knowing is what motivates us to change the trajectory of our family, of our romantic relationships, and work. And I know I mentioned work, but I'm gonna let y'all know right now, this episode is mainly going to be focused on family dynamics and romantic relationships. So basically those type of relationships. The power in knowing that there's more and not settling for less, it cultivates curiosity, which helps you to learn more. It cultivates personal growth. Who don't want that? It cultivates a willingness to learn, to take risk, and to appreciate others. So ultimately, just embracing this idea alone can lead to a more fulfilling and purposeful life, right? Even if you don't go all the way, but you just start a little bit. But you guys already know with this podcast, your girl has to share her story, right? Because this is how you guys can be able to relate to me and understand where I'm coming from and know that I get you. Right? I get you. And so when I'm offering advice and when I'm offering tips, I'm coming from a place of experience and not reading from a textbook or pulling it out of God knows where and just trying to feed you information. So let me just go ahead. I want to share some of my personal experience with you guys when it comes to me, what I decided I didn't want to settle on in life. And I'm also going to, throughout the podcast, share the consequences that came with me deciding to be different. I'm different. Yeah, I'm different. Just kidding, y'all. But I am different. All right. So first, let me share my experiences of not settling when it comes to relationships. I have always grown up seeing unhealthy relationships, okay, in my family dynamic. And even as a very young child, I would always say to me, this is the type of husband I want. I actually wanted to be a woman that had her own career, had her own money, doing her own thing, because ain't no man gonna have me at home taking care of no babies and cleaning up all day. That was my mindset. And there's like no shade to any woman that's what you want to do. I've done it myself. There's a portion of my life that all I did was stay at home with my kids and raise them and clean house and cook and whatnot. And it actually was very beneficial for my children, especially my daughter, because I was able to homeschool her. And this little girl is freaking smart as I don't know what, but I homeschooled her. And because of that, sis skipped a grade. So she was always a grade ahead in school. Very intelligent girl, very well spoken. She's amazing. It's the same thing with my oldest son. I was able to do the same thing with him. By the third one, life had completely changed. And y'all can go back to the previous episodes to kind of get a gist of what happened there. But there was so much benefit to it, like the bonding that I had with my children, the memories that were created, so much. So it is a beautiful thing for a woman to be able to do that. But as a child, I knew I wanted to work. I wanted to make my own money. And I didn't even know what I wanted to do. Like, I was like, I want to be a nurse. And then I was like, I want to be an attorney. And then I was like, I want to be a singer. I was just all over the place. And I just knew that I did not want to be in a home where I had some man towering over me and I was subjective to him. But that mindset came from the environment that I grew up in, and it wasn't healthy. Again, it was an environment where I saw my father being very abusive to all of us. We were all afraid of him. He was very abusive to my mother, and he didn't manage money well. And because of that, there were times we didn't have lights in our home. We didn't have heat in our home. And this is like dead winter. Growing up in Chicago, we are freezing. So my mindset was, no, I need to boss up. I wasn't saying boss up as a kid, but basically I need to boss up. I need to have my own money. I need to be able to do my thing. And I ain't depending on no man. And not only that, I'm not going to be with no man that's abusive. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Right. So again, my mindset came from what I grew up seeing, and I wanted to do something different because even outside of my home, I saw the relationships that my other family members had, and they weren't healthy as well. And I wanted more. I wanted to feel loved. I wanted to feel appreciated. Now, when I first started dating more closer into my adult years, I didn't make the best decisions. Like, again, when you decide you want to do things different, you don't have a manual to show you how to pick and choose and how, what to do next. You're basically doing this on your own. You're moving blindly. And I didn't have a manual. All I had was what my previous experiences were and what my triggers were and how I reacted to them and how I saw people react to certain things. And so I didn't make the best decisions when it came to relationships. But the one thing that I have always held on to was knowing that you need to treat me damn good or it's going to be a problem. That I knew. So I always knew that there was more, but it was a situation where I would not settle per se, but kind of still settle. So it was like, I knew I wanted the princess treatment. And so the guys would always come in with the princess treatment, the love, the affection, the gifts, the trips, the words of affirmations, everything that I felt like I didn't have. That was my more. But then I would settle in areas where I could feel my spirit is telling me this man ain't right, or there's something wrong here with how his thought process is and how he reacts to certain things. But because they were showing up and giving me things that I did not experience before that made me feel like this was love, I felt like I was receiving my more. I felt like I was not settling. And as I continue to go through my adult years, of course, we're learning more and more. If you're not learning as you go, and if you are staying in the same cycles, that's a problem. Okay, we need to talk. But I continue to learn and realize, okay, Nikki, yeah, they did good in this area, but you also need this. All right, so the next one comes. He did good in that area, but now you need this as well. So there's always more. There's power in knowing that there's always more. I have yet to be in a relationship where my spirit is completely at ease. And that is the more that I am striving for. And I'm going to tell you guys later on in the podcast how the consequences that I'm going through because I refuse to settle for less. So that's an example of me and my relationships. But then let's talk about me stepping outside the box and doing things different than my family overall, not just with relationships, but like with life and how I choose to live life and how I choose to take care of myself and the environments I choose to be around or not be around. That is something too that I'm dealing with the consequences of because I've grown up, and it's our culture where there's like a lot of drinking and just certain things that I choose to not be engulfed in. Not saying I don't drink. I take a little sip now and then, y'all. But I'm just not that person that this is what I want to do every day or all weekend. And so you have to deal with being okay with making the decisions like, yeah, that's not the lifestyle that I really want. And I choose to do things different. You have to be okay with making that decision and then people feeling like you think that you're too good. Okay, I'm just throw that in there as part of the consequence of wanting more and not settling. But not just the lifestyle, but just certain things, just, growing up and just seeing how people's lives turn out and how they end up living and just feeling like there's more out there. There's more for us to experience. And that's what I want. And not just for myself, but as a woman that have children, as soon as I started having children, that was my mindset. Like I have to show them something different because I want them to move differently, because if they move differently, they're going to receive more. And if I automatically start moving differently with them, they're going to receive way more and experience way more than what I did. And that's what I wanted. And so those are just a couple of my personal stuff and how I looked at life and decided that there's more and I want more and I'm not going to settle. And, it's no shade thrown to anyone that decide like, yeah, I know this ain't the best, but it works for me. If that's how you want to live, or if that's how your family wants to live or your friends want to live, that's on them, because at the end of the day, we only have control over our own lives. We are here to figure out our own ish, right? We are here to figure out our own journey. We all have our own journeys to walk. And so if someone chooses something that to you feels like it's not enough, it's no shade to them. They have to deal with the consequence of choosing that, whether it's joy, peace, prosperity, whatever it is that comes with it, or it's sadness, frustration, low self-esteem, whatever. We all have to deal with our own consequences at the end of the day with the decisions that we decide to make. Let's talk about the consequences of settling. We're going to talk about the consequences of settling first, and then we're going to talk about the consequences of not settling, because there's consequences in both decisions. I'm going to start with talking about the consequences I've dealt with when it comes to settling, and this is just mainly in relationships. Me giving a guy a chance, although I know that he wasn't bringing what I needed. He wasn't fully bringing what I needed, and I would give him a chance anyway, because at one point, I was going through this battle where like I literally went from that girl that was like, no nonsense, I ain't playing no game, I cut you off, we're done, right? To then start feeling like, well, maybe I'm too harsh, maybe I'm asking for more than what's fair. Everybody's human. Everyone's going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, because people want to feed you that. I will tell you this, when you decide that you don't want to settle for less in relationships, in life, or whatever it is, especially with relationships, people will come to you like the floodgates just open with everybody that wants to remind you that nobody ain't perfect, and your standards are too high, you're asking for too much. And it can cause you to second guess yourself, especially when you realize like your track record with relationships are not good. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you are asking for too much. It could be, everybody's situation is different. And so I would advise you to take a step back and see what's going on in your life and in your relationships and why they're not working out. But people were starting to have me believe that I was asking for too much. Mind you, I am a girl that is very much self-aware. And this is a process that I've been going through for some years now, where I'm learning myself and I'm sitting myself down and holding my butt accountable for crap that happens in my life, where it's like, okay, Nikki, where did you play a role in this? Where did you allow the foolishness to come in? Where did you turn a blind eye when you should have opened your eyes? You should have opened your mouth and spoke up. So I do know how to hold myself accountable. And after each relationship, I take the time to sit back and be like, okay, so what happened here, right? But because dating is not fun right now, it's just a challenge to find a decent human being. I'm going to be honest. You start to second guess yourself. At least I did. And I would start allowing the BS of you're asking too much type of crap to start taking over, and start giving men who did not deserve anything past a hello from me a chance. And y'all, every time I've done that, I've regretted it. Every time. Because each and every time that man or those men, whoever they were, all right, y'all, there's not a gang of them. I hope that's not what this sounds like. But each and every time I've given someone a chance that I knew like, yeah, he's really not it. They take advantage of that and they don't appreciate you anyway. It's like basically putting yourself on sale. Like, you are a Tiffany's girl, okay? You know that if you were a piece of jewelry, baby, you would be in somebody's Tiffany store, right? Because you're expensive, you're valuable, like your price is so high. What you bring, your quality is up there. You don't belong in Walmart's showcase. You belong in a Tiffany showcase. But I basically allowed this nagging in my ear of you're asking for too much and you're this and you're that to have me lower my standards and put myself in basically like a Walmart showcase for men that could never afford me had I stayed my butt in Tiffany's, right? And so when you get something and you are not used to high quality, you are not used to things that are extremely valuable, you don't know how to take care of them. You don't know how to preserve these things. You don't know how to put them on a shelf and keep them nice and pretty and take care of them and keep the scratches away, like do all the things to preserve that extremely valuable item that you now have. You don't know how to take care of that. And so I would end up in these relationships where I'm trying to now spoon feed these men on how to treat a woman. And I'm not even asking for anything crazy, like I need you to be out here taking me here, paying my rent, doing all that. Like that is great. I've had men do that before, but I'm asking for like the basic things, like phone calls. Girl, why are you asking a man for a phone call at this point, right? And this is part of what comes with me deciding to settle. Like, I'm just going to accept a little bit less, and I'll just work with him. Yeah, that's a consequence that I had to deal with. When it comes to my lifestyle and how I want to raise my children, the environment that I want to be in, the environment that I want my children to be in, I haven't settled. I'm trying to think about it, and I'm like, I haven't settled. And that is honestly part of why my life is so challenging right now. And it has been, because that part I refuse to settle on. And that's a lot. All right. So I just gave you guys an example of me settling and what the consequences of that looks like. And that's just like one little example. But when we choose to settle for less, I don't believe that there's any way that you will truly ever be fully fulfilled. I don't believe that you will ever experience true, genuine happiness, true, genuine peace, because you know that you're settling. You know, in the back of your mind, you know that there's always more. I can experience more. And not even just relationships, but just in life in general. Like, there's more to life than this neighborhood or this city that I've chosen to live in since childhood and never left. There's more to life than staying in this environment that is not conducive to what is the fire that is burning inside of me that wants to experience more. There is more to a relationship than being with somebody that downplays who I am, being with somebody that does not know how to love me and chooses not to learn how to love me the way that I need it. There's more out there for me to experience. And when you choose to ignore that there's more because you want to stay in your comfort zone, because that just makes you feel more comfortable and you don't have to really think, right? You just get up every day and you just move like a robot. This is the routine. This is how it goes. When you choose life that way, I don't believe that you will ever truly experience true happiness, true joy, true peace. And I honestly believe that that is something that we all deserve and are worthy of experiencing in this life. So you're choosing to cut off a certain part, just kind of like kill that off and just go through the motion until your last breath. But now let's talk about the consequences of not settling. Let's talk about the consequences, y'all. Let's talk about how hard this can be, because oh my gosh. It's a challenge. And if somebody's gonna tell you it's not, they're lying. I know I'm not the only one. The decision to not settle comes with emotional and psychological challenges. Okay? I'm gonna tell y'all that right now. So when people decide not to settle, when we decide not to settle, we can face so many significant challenges and difficulties in just various aspects of our lives. For example, like me deciding to not settle for the life that I grew up in. You deciding to not settle for the type of life that you grew up in or grew up with. You may end up experiencing feelings of shame, guilt, disappointment from family and friends who don't understand your decision. I've been there. I honestly feel isolated. A lot of times I feel isolated. I feel like I'm the black sheep in my family. I get talked about and I've heard it. And that's stuff that really doesn't bother me. Honestly, it doesn't bother me, because at the end of the day, I look at my children, they always remind me that I've made the right decision when it comes to that. But honestly, in the beginning, you may feel guilt, like for wanting to do things different, especially when you're like, nah, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to do that type of stuff. I'm not about that life. There may be some form of guilt or shame that you start to feel, because it's like your family can look at you like, who you think you are? Oh, so you think you're better than us? And it's like, no, but I think I'm I know I'm better than this. I'm not saying I'm better than y'all, because y'all can change it too if you wanted to. But this, I am better than, and I don't want this. So those are some feelings that can come up. Disappointment from your family and friends that don't understand, because a lot of times when people grow up with you and they've just been around you all their lives, they just expect you to stay a certain way, especially if they have no intentions of changing. And so then when you decide, now I know there's more out there, so I'm about to go find that. I'm about to go see what that life's about. You can experience disappointment from them because they feel like you're turning your back on them at this point. And you're not. You're not. But there's times where we do outgrow the people that we've been around for a very long time. And it's not saying that these are bad people. It's not saying that, I'm too good for you, but it's saying I'm too good for this and I want more. And if you want to come with me and you want to learn how to receive and accept more, come with me for this ride. But a lot of times people won't, and that's where people fall off. It's a hard space to be in. There's also a feeling of being overwhelmed, y'all. Being overwhelmed by fear, the unknown, the uncertainty of your future. I experienced this so much, and it's an overwhelming yet frustrating feeling as well, because we're going to go back to being in this position just causes you to be like a blind man walking, and it's just that unknown of God. When I'm doing all the things, I am learning all the things, I am keeping my expectations high. So when or what's next? What do I expect? Or how do I get through this challenge now? Because I don't know who to call. I don't know who to talk to, because there's nobody around me that's gone through this. I'm new to this. I'm the only one that wanted to do this. I'm the only one that wanted to step out the box, okay? So now it's just that overwhelming fear of the unknown. And not just that, but the fear of not knowing if you will ever succeed, because you have this vision in your mind of what you want, you desire, what you deserve in life and in relationships. And when it takes a while for these things to unfold in your life, you start feeling like, is this ever gonna happen for me, right? Am I out here looking crazy? Was I tripping to expect this for me? I'm telling y'all, there's so much emotional and psychological challenges that comes with this. And then let's talk about the fact that this new path that you're on takes more effort, right? There's so much more effort that goes into this versus just getting up every day and going into your routine of life. There's resources that you now have to attain. It takes time. Again, we're going to go back to the expectation that we have, and it just leads to frustration and exhaustion sometimes, and even self-doubt. All of these things are what I experienced. And I'm not going to say experienced like it's all in the past, because I still go through them now from time to time. And I'm just so grateful that I have certain people in my life that I can talk to them and they'll put it into perspective for me. Like, girl, I'm gonna need you to hold on for a second, because let's list off the things that you've accomplished already. Let's talk about how you did this, and that, right? Because a lot of times when we're in the moment, we can't see how far we've come. We're still looking at that end goal, and we don't realize, like, yeah, you're not where you want, Nikki, but guess what, baby girl? You ain't in no dysfunctional relationship. Ain't nobody raggedy son beating on you, cursing you out, degrading you, stressing you out. There's nothing like your life is at peace when it comes to that. Yeah, you're not at the end goal that you want to be at when it comes to your life goals. But girl, guess what? Your kids grew up in a healthy, happy, peaceful, joyful home. You have the best relationship with your children. They love you like crazy. Your kids can pick up the phone and talk to you about any and everything. And they love doing that with you. You raise some amazing human beings. Like, they'll just start naming off stuff. You accomplished this with work. You accomplished this with your business. And sometimes that's what we need, because again, the emotions and the psychological stuff starts to overwhelm you, and you just start feeling like, maybe I should have just kicked back like everybody else. Although you know that's not what you want. And although you know that at the end of the day, if you ever decide to settle, you will be so miserable and unhappy with your life. But it's hard. But let's also talk about how not settling for less than what you want in life may also result in disappointment. Yeah, let's talk about the times when we go after something and we know that we're good at this, or we're the person for this, or we deserve this, whatever it is, and it doesn't happen for you, and the disappointment that you now have to go through. And you have to now convince yourself to continue to push forward with that goal anyway. Let's talk about that. Or dealing with rejection. Rejection business. Oh my God. That's something that I had to talk to my therapist about, more recently, is just dealing with rejection. Rejection's hard. And rejection is something that can cause many of people to pack their up and go home and be like, I ain't doing this no more. And like, you have to have a tough skin. You have to have a tough skin to say, I know that there's more and I won't settle for less. And I'm going to move on that. You have to have a tough skin because it ain't easy, because it leads to feelings of like discouragement, frustration, depression. It does. There's people that at times that may feel like giving up and settling for less is the easier option. We know that. We see these people around us all the time, and it's funny. And I'm talking about this because I know, like, especially with the social media age, baby, when you get on here and you see people accomplishing things and life is turning around for them and they're doing these are people that decided, I am not settling for less. I'm going for more. But we don't get to see the behind the scenes of the nights that they cried, the times that they were unsure, the times when they're like, I don't know if this is actually going to happen for me. We don't get to see all of that. We just get to see the glory. And so I just felt like we need to highlight this for those of you that are like me, that refuse to settle for less in life, and you are on a path that is brand new to you and anyone around you. I want to highlight the things that come with this so that you can realize this is normal. Just because on social media you don't get to see people's behind the scenes struggle to get to where they are now, their glory, their highlight reels, just because you didn't get to see it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Because as much as I'm a human being, you're a human being, they are too. They're no better. There's a struggle that they had to go through as well. So there's just so much with that. And choosing to persevere through all these challenges and setbacks can lead to resilience, stronger determination, and growth. When I tell y'all the resilience, it's like through the roof. When it comes to relationships, though, choosing to not settle can also result in loneliness. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about being lonely sometimes? And I honestly, it just boils my blood at times. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, when people say like, I'm lonely, and then somebody that's in a relationship say some crap like, you ain't lonely, you're not alone, you got God, you got your friends, you got, like, y'all stop playing. Like, I'm just like, stop playing. Like, I wish people would just be realistic and just remember what you were like outside of a relationship. Now you have a relationship, and so now your whole mindset changes about things. But let's be real here. It gets lonely at times. Yeah, I have my kids around me. I have friends that love me, friends that are family. But having a partner is completely different than that. So yeah, when you choose to not settle in relationships, it does get lonely. And there's so many people in this world that can't handle being alone. And that's why they stay in toxic relationships. They refuse to come out. They refuse to let go. They refuse to do the work to get the healing because the loneliness eats at them. They just, for whatever it is, they cannot get past that. There's so much heartbreak. Y'all, my poor heart. Like, my heart must have like so many calluses on it, like what do they call it when you, like, scar tissue? I must have so many scar tissue all around it because I've had my heart broken so many times. And that comes with not settling, because each time that I've had my heart broken, it hurts even more to know, like, damn it, Nikki, you have to, girl, you don't have a choice but to let go of this imagination, this perception that you had of this person, this story that you made up of this relationship and this person. Girl, you're gonna have to let that go because this mess ain't healthy. And one thing about me, I cannot stay in dysfunction. I cannot stay with no blatant disrespect, stuff like that. I can't stay. Like, it's just, I don't know if it's God in me that's just like, no, we ain't doing this, we gonna head out. But there's something that's in me that refuses to allow me to sit with anybody's mess. Like, I gotta go. And I'm talking about when you're blatantly in my face with the disrespect in whatever form it may show up. I can't stay. And so it hurts me even more to be like, okay, Now you got to sit back and deal with the fact that you made this story up in your head about how great this person was or how great this relationship, like you added on more than what was there. Let's talk about the rejection, right? Because you have these standards and you're going to get rejected. You will be rejected because somebody that cannot match you, somebody that cannot show up for you the way you need your partner to show up for you, that person will reject you. Now, there's a lot of people that's still going to try to step into that spot because people are drawn to your light and they want to be all up in that energy and they want to be seen with you and all these things. But there are certain people that they be like, nah, I ain't doing all that. And so there's rejection that comes with choosing to not settle for less than what you want in relationships. Let's talk about how we experience difficulty finding someone who meets our expectations and our criteria. My expectations and criteria, I want a man that's a provider, that's protective, that loves God. And I ain't gonna tell y'all the rest because I don't want a bunch of men in my DMs trying to pretend that they're that man. Trust me, if you're that man, I'm going to know. So y'all can stop. But there's certain qualities in a man, characteristics, morals, standards that I need him to have. And I'm not even talking about the man's finances, but just his morals and his characteristics. Like there's certain things that I need him to show up with. And it's hard. It is hard to find people with these expectations. And I know men, it's the same thing with you. If you're looking for a good woman, it's a challenge. And so when you decide not to settle, you are now dealing with the fact that baby girl, baby boy, it may take you much longer to find your person. But that's part of the consequences. What are you going to do? Decide to lower your standards and be unhappy with the person that you let in? It's hard, y'all. There's so much disappointment and despair that comes with this. But nevertheless, choosing to pursue a relationship that fulfills your needs and your desires can lead to deeper connections. That's what I want. I don't want the surface level stuff. Y'all, I don't even like small talk. I'm going to tell you that right now. I remember I dated this one guy and he would text me every day and just be like, what you doing? Like just real basic stuff, right? And I'm like, I remember one day he texted me and I was at work and I was like, I am working. I said, whatever. And I said to him, I said, you know what? These conversations are boring. I need you to stimulate my mind. I need you to come up with a topic that we can have an actual conversation with. And when I told my friends about this, it's like, dang. But I wasn't saying it in a rude way. It's just like, baby, this is not doing anything for me. Stimulate my mind. I don't like the small conversations. I don't like the small talk. I don't like the surface level stuff. Like, let's get deep with this. Like, I really want to know who you are. I really want to know what your thought process is. And I want you to dig in with me to like get to know me. So that's what comes with not settling. When we choose to not settle, this is what we get to receive. It's just going to take us longer. But deeper connections, emotional satisfaction, and personal fulfillment, right? And to me, it's worth it all. With relationships and in lifestyle, it's worth it all. So overall, the decision to not settle, again, it comes with emotional and psychological challenges, but it can lead to growth, resilience, and a much more fulfilling life. Y'all, let me wrap this up, okay? I want to talk to you guys about just overcoming fear with deciding to not settle and go for more, because you know there's more. Okay. At the end of the day, every single person in this world know that there's more to offer than what they have. And so when you decide not to settle and go for what it is that you want and deserve and are worthy of, fear definitely is going to come up, right? So let's talk about overcoming fear. And I want to give you guys 3 tips to help you with this, because fear can paralyze us and prevent us from going after what we want. It makes us feel stuck in comfort zones, stuck. Okay, I know too many people that are stuck in their comfort zone, and it causes us to settle for less than we deserve, or causes them to settle for less than they deserve. So here are some tips to overcome fear and not settle in life and relationships. Okay, so the first one I want to say is to identify the source of your fear. Identify the source of your fear. When you understand the root cause of your fear, you can overcome it. This is crucial to overcoming it. So ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Why am I afraid of it? And then once you identify those sources, then you can start to address it, right? So what am I afraid of and why am I afraid of it? Sometimes we are filled with fear. And when you sit down to think about like, okay, what exactly am I afraid of here? You realize like, girl, it's nothing even significant like that. Tip number 2, take action despite the fear. Take action despite the fear. This is called having courage, okay? Y'all, this is something that I'm doing time and time again. Every process, everything that I've gone through, every challenge I've gone through in my life, it is me taking action despite fear. Me doing this podcast is me taking action despite fear, okay? So the only way you can overcome fear is to face it head on. Right? You have to start, even if you start small, by taking a small action towards your goal, doing something small when it comes to changing the way you view life or you view certain things, then gradually increasing as you go. But you have to take the action despite how fearful you are. And then 3, practice self-compassion. Please be kind to yourself and acknowledge that fear is just it's a natural emotion. We all feel this. And if anyone is making you feel like crap because you experience fear, ignore them. I'll just say that. I'm going to be nice. Ignore them because we're all human and it's a natural reaction. But you don't want fear to overtake you. That's the key. So practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself and acknowledge that fear is natural. Don't beat yourself up if you experience setbacks or failures, because you're going to. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're going to experience probably setback after setback and failure after failure, but you're also going to be growing along the way and you're going to be achieving along the way. So don't let that stop you. And instead of beating yourself up, if you experience failures or a setback, use them as learning opportunities to keep you moving forward. I tell you guys, after every relationship, I sit my butt down and be like, okay, girl, what is the lesson here? Y'all, I just had a situation and I don't even know if I'm ready to share this with y'all, but I have so many stories. But I just had like a situation where I probably went on a date with a guy for like 2 weeks. And y'all, long story short, the man ghosted me after I had to leave to go take my son to the ER and then came back to flip it back on me. But long story short, I sat down, I said, okay, Nikki, how did you even end up with somebody with this type of mentality? And immediately it came to me, there were certain things that certain flags about him, certain things that he was saying to me in conversation that was like, ooh, girl, I don't know. And I had already picked up on these. But anyway, setbacks and failures are always a learning opportunity. So learn, and move forward and do things differently. All right, you guys. So by following these steps, you can overcome fear and refuse to settle for less. I don't want y'all to settle. Please don't settle. I know life is not easy when you decide to do things different, when you decide to step out of your comfort zone. But there's so much more joy, peace, beauty in being that bold person and being that courageous person and being the one to say, no, I'm going to do it different. I've gone through so many challenges, but y'all, I've been blessed. I've been blessed so much along the way. My children alone are a testament to the benefit of doing things differently. My children alone. So I want the same for you guys. Overcome the fear and refuse to settle for less than what you deserve in life and relationships. All right. So that's it for today's podcast. Again, do not settle. Push for more and trust that God has a plan for your lives. And y'all know I can't go without leaving you a scripture. So I'm going to go ahead and now read the rest of this scripture to you guys that was shared to the women in my email list. And again, if you want to join this list, the link is in the show description. And real quick, be sure to tune in next week as I talk about the feminine energy and how it becomes wounded based off of experiences that we've had in our past, whether it be the home environment, the type of home environment that we've grown up in, or even relationships that we've dealt with in the past that has wounded our feminine energy and the work that it takes now to rebuild that. I'm going to be talking about what it looks like to have a wounded feminine energy, the things that can cause this, and how we can move forward with this. So ladies, definitely tune in next week. Bring a home girl to listen in as well. And men, tune in as well, because if you have a woman in your life, this may be some information that you can share with her as well. All right, you guys, here is today's scripture. words. It says Isaiah 42:16. I will lead the blind by the ways they have not known. Along unfamiliar paths, I will guide them. I will turn darkness into light before them and make the rough places smooth. These are the things I will do, and I will not forsake them, says the Lord. Be blessed, y'all.